Hello, students. Welcome back to your history class. So, we were on theme 4, the Central Islamic lands, and we have completed it. So, today we are going to look at few notes about the chapter. Okay. So, while we are discussing these notes, it would be good if you write them down so that you can look back on it when you're revising the chapter. All right. So Islamic lands brought three aspects of human civilization for us: religion, community, and politics, which are the various sources that help us understand the history of Central Islamic lands. Number one, the semi historical works such as biographies, records of the sayings and doings of the Prophet, and the commentaries on the Quran, that is tafsir. These commentaries are nothing but interpreted text by different prophets, different people, and a record about everything that the prophet did, that is called hadith. Okay, so these were some semi historical works that help us understand the Islamic land. Then there is a large collection of eyewitness reports that is called as akhbar. We use akhbar, right? We still read newspapers. Okay, so akhbars which have been transmitted over a period of time. At those days, akhbar was also orally, so orally or on paper. And the authenticity of each report at that time was tested by in a critical method called isnad. Okay, so it was traced by a chain of transmission, and then the narrator was established, and then his reliability was checked, and only if everything was correct it was considered as news. Unlike today, when we get something on WhatsApp and we just assume it as news. I think this is a very good take back from that history, where every report or every khabar reported was tested by a method in which the transmission, chain of transmission was checked. How has it reached you? Then the narrator was found. Who started in the news or who spread the news? And then finally, the reliability of the news. Okay. Although the method was not foolproof, the medieval Muslim writers were more careful in selecting the information and understanding the motives of their informants than their contemporary other parts. So the medieval Muslims, they were more careful about all this. They did not want to spread a rumor or false information. Then there is Christian chronicles. They were written in Syriac. They are fewer, but they throw interesting light on the history of early Islam. And finally, so what were these Christian chronicles? Basically, the Christians also were writing about the Muslims because they it was the competitive religion at that point. So they used to keep a check on what was being written about Muslims or Islam, so that false information was not written. Okay, they wanted to make sure that it did not overcome Christianity. Okay, so Christian chronicles were written in Syriac, which is an Aramaic dialect, and they also throw some interesting light on the history of Islam. Okay, and also in Arabic there is the Tariq of Tabari, which has been translated in English. Then there was also Persian chronicles, but they were very few and they are not quite detailed. Okay, and then besides these all chronicles, we also have some legal texts, some geographies, some travelogues, some literary works, and stories and poems. So all these gives us an insight into the life at that time. And if you just apply this in the future, the current akhbars, the current biography, the current books, poems, the current text, it will all give an insight to the future generations about the life that we are living currently. Yes. So for this, I want you all to take any one article or any one news article or a blog or any report about this pandemic that will give the future generations an insight about what is this pandemic and how we are currently facing it, or how we are overcoming. It can be either all three together or even one of it. Something that if our future generations get their hands on and they are able to decipher it, decode it, they will be able to understand our current life. If you come across an article that depicts our current life perfectly and well, I want you to take that article and stick it in your books. Okay? So that was the sources that help us. Next, we come to the rise of Islam in Arabia. Now, the Arabs before the Muhammad were called Bedunis. Okay, so before the Prophet Muhammad, the Arabs were divided into tribes or Kabila. Each Trabila or each Kabila was led by a chief, and this chief was chosen partly on the basis of his family connection, okay, but more for his personal courage, wisdom, and generosity. Okay, so depending on all this, a chief was chosen, and Arabs were divided into Kabilas. Okay, next, each tribe had its own god or goddess, and this god or goddess was worshipped as an idol or a sanam. Okay, many Arab tribes were nomadic. Nomadic is Bedouins. That means they were not in one location. They used to shift from one place to another. So they used to move from dry areas to green areas of the desert in search of food. Some of these also settled in cities, and they started to practice trade and agriculture. Now we see the importance of Mecca. Now, it was in this city that Muhammad lived, and he started to control the main shrine, that is a Cuba like structure known as Kaaba. And inside this Kaaba, the idols were placed. Which idols? The Sanam. Remember, each and every tribe, they had their own god or goddesses. And each and every tribe had their own god or goddesses. And it was idol worship, and this idol was called Sanam. Okay. So these Sanams or these idols were kept inside this Kaaba. Okay. So even tribes outside the Mecca now started considering Kaaba very holy, and they also put their own idols inside the shrine, making and they started to make annual pilgrimages over here. That is once a year, annual pilgrimages, and the name of this pilgrimage for to the shrine was Hajj. Okay, so tribes outside Mecca also considered Kaaba holy, and they placed their own idols inside it and made annual pilgrimage called the Hajj. Now, Mecca was located on the crossroads of a trade route between Yemen and Syria, and this added to the importance of the city because it was in the middle of the trade route. Okay, now what were the principles and messages of Prophet Muhammad? Muhammad was an Arab by language and culture and a merchant by profession. Yeah, so we were looking at the principles and messages of Prophet Muhammad. Now, Muhammad was an Arab by language and culture, and he was a merchant by profession. He declared himself to be the messenger of God and commanded to preach that Allah alone should be worshipped. He said there's only one God, Allah, and we only should worship Him. Okay. He preached that worship should involve simple rituals such as daily prayers. His followers should follow moral principles such as you should abstain from theft, you should distribute alms, and you should be bound together through common religious beliefs. He preached to find a single community of believers called Ummah, and his believers were called Muslims. They were promised salvation on the day of judgment and a share of resources of the community while they were on earth. So, this was the main principles and messages of Prophet Muhammad. Now, we'll only look at Islamic calendar today and then we'll call it off. We'll call it a end of the class for the day. So, according to the Islamic calendar, the Muslims and their religion had faced considerable opposition from Mecca, and in 622, Muhammad was forced to migrate with his followers to Medina. So this was the first day. This journey marks the first day of the year in the Muslim calendar, okay, which is called the Hijri era. The Hijri era was established during the first year, that is 622. Okay, and any date in the Muslim calendar is followed by AH. Okay, like we have CE, they have AH. Now this Hijri calendar, this Hijri year, it is a lunar year. Okay, that means it has 354 days and they have 12 months. Okay, the 12 months out of 29 days or 30 days. Each day for them begins at sunset and each month begins with the sighting of a moon. Now the Hijri year is 11 days shorter than the solar year. So none of the Islamic religious festivals like Ramzan, Eid, Hajj, none of these, corresponds to a particular season or a particular month of the year, because there's a difference of 11 days between the Islamic calendar and the calendar we follow, the lunar calendar and the solar calendar. Because of this 11 days, their festivals, they keep shifting 11 days every year. Okay, there is no easy way to match the Hijri dates with the dates in our Gregorian calendar. Okay, but there is one formula which is given in your textbook to calculate rough events. Okay, roughly it will tell you how to convert from Gregorian to history. All right. So with this, I'm going to end today's class. Your homework is to find that one particular article on corona that you think, if read in the future, will correctly and guide them for an insight of the life today that we are living currently. Okay. So till then, stay home, stay safe, take care, and keep learning.